This episode of The Inspiration Show is so incredibly special and is going to be big fun. Today's inspiration is so amazingly talented and is one of the sweetest, most talented people. She is currently in the ensemble as New Wave Party Girl and a superhero swing in the Off-Broadway production of Heather's the Musical, while also understudying Heather McNamara, Heather Chandler, and Veronica. She was also a swing on the Hadestown National Tour, where she understudied Eurydice and the Fates and served as dance captain. I am so beyond excited to welcome the incredible Cecilia Trippiedi to the Inspiration Show. Thank you so much, Cecilia, for joining me. I have so much love and admiration for you, and it's such an honor to have you here.
Thank you. I can't believe you said my name correctly.
Let's
Bonus
go!
brownie points for you.
Thank you. So, when did you discover your passion for singing, dance, and theater?
I always loved all of those things since I was little. I have a lot of music in my family. My mom was actually my music teacher growing up at my school. Um, my uncle is an opera singer. My other aunt is a music teacher as well. It comes on both sides of my family. So I was always up and at 'em, but I never knew exactly what I wanted to do up until I was like 11. I always told people that I wanted to be the winner of So You Think You Can Dance, which is like a dance competition show. But then I did a community theater production of Annie, and I was July, and there were two casts. It was like double cast, and this was like when the swine flu was going around. Um, and I was also the star to be, so like the one who has the three bucks, two bags, one me. And the girl in the other cast who was the star to be got really, really sick with the swine flu, and they were like, Cecilia, can you step in as the star to be with the other cast? Which just means I'm doing the same thing I usually do, just with a different group of people. But I was like, oh my gosh, yes, of course. And like that, and it's funny now that I've done so much understudy and swing work. And like that's kind of my like origin story of like how I discovered that this is what I wanted to do. Um, but yeah, the like live theater of it all really, I caught the bug then and there. So like when I was like 11 or 12, that's kind of when I knew I was like, okay, I think I want to do the musical theater thing.
I love that. And I love how you got bit by the bug. I mean, I say that every episode. Getting bit by
Yeah.
the bug, it's the greatest gift in the world. And I can't believe you got bit by the bug too, like with that like Swing Nation duty when you were so young. Like that's amazing. Let's go, Swing Nation.
Yeah, I loved it. I ate it up.
Oh, of course you did. You were nothing but perfection. I expect nonetheless. Oh, you're incredible. So, what really inspired you to become a performer, and who has been some of your biggest inspirations throughout your career?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, oh my God. I feel like I learn so much the more that I work, obviously. Um, I got my BFA, I got my college degree, and that was great. And I learned a lot of like basic like skills of the trade in terms of like acting skills and dance skills and stuff like that. But nobody really teaches you about how to be an adult in this industry. So since I worked my first professional job when I was 20, and I've been very grateful and lucky to have the opportunity to learn from so many people that I've worked with. Just like, for example, the last regional show I did, actually did it with Elizabeth Teeter, but we got to work with Jackie Burns, and she led that show. And just like being in the room with her and like watching her work and watching her navigate these rooms full of men, to be quite honest, as a woman in this space was really inspiring. And that's kind of been part of my briefing now when I'm looking at like, do I want to audition for this? Do I want to take this job? Like, what would the pros and cons be? And I always want to make sure that there's somebody there, especially if I'm understudying, like there's somebody there that I can learn from. And that's, I mean, that's been the case with others too. Like, I mean, Lorna Courtney is an absolute beast. Like watching her work and do Veronica 8 shows a week is absolutely insane. And again, not only just working in the room, but navigating conversations with creatives and press and fans and all of that stuff. Um, so I don't know. I don't think I have like one person or like a mentor per se, but on every contract that I do, I've been pretty lucky to be able to find someone and learn from them in some way and just the way that they operate in this industry.
Yeah, I relate to that so much. Like, especially like growing up, getting to be the youngest cast member in a lot of the shows I did, like really watching the people around me like take me under their wing and like teach me the ropes and looking up to them and watching them work. It's such an incredible experience because I like to use the toolbox analogy. Like you take tools from everyone and then you put it into your own
Hmm.
toolbox, and that's how you kind of get shaped as a performer. And I think that's so special.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
Yeah. So, can you take us back to the first time you experienced theater and how you were feeling at the time?
Oh my God. I don't remember the first time I experienced theater, to be quite honest with you. I'm lucky, I'm from just outside of Chicago. So my, from when I would always go see the national tours that came through. And luckily Chicago also has like a really strong regional theater scene. Um, but probably when I was around 11 or 12, my mom every Christmas would get gifted a season subscription to the like Broadway and Chicago tours. And I was very fortunate and very lucky to be able to see like five national tours every year from the time I was 12 until I was 18. Um, and I think I saw Wicked like four times come through. I do remember the first time I saw Wicked and I had to be like nine or
Yeah.
something like that because they had a really long sit. They had like a 4 year sit down in Chicago. Um, and of course, like I was inspired and I loved it. And I've had experiences like that in New York as well. I didn't come to New York until I was, how old was I? I was 18 because I came with the Jimmy Awards. When I was in high school, I'd never been before. But I do remember a like moment of theater that I always remember is I went by myself to go see Hello Dolly, which was billed as Bette Midler, but I saw Donna Murphy, who was
Mm.
the alternate standby, what have you. And I was by myself and I was like sitting, which I think is like the best seat in the house. It's like fifth or sixth row back, center orchestra. Um, and I was like, this is magic. This is what theater is. And like, I think this is one of the things that makes this industry so difficult is like the high highs and the low lows of like getting to experience something like that and being so inspired and then, auditioning and singing 16 bars and walking out the door of like something that's your dream and you're never going back. So it's, yeah, but I don't know. I would rather take the highs and lows than to like live in the middle for my whole life.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, 1,000%. I relate to that so much. Yeah. So you attended Otterbein University, where you studied musical theater with a dance concentration. So how did that program really influence your growth as a performer and prepare you for a career in theater?
That program was, I mean, every BFA program, I'm sure, across the country is insane in its own special way. Um, but Otterbein, especially with that dance concentration, I worked so hard and I miss how much class I had. Like every single day for 4 years, 5 days a week, I had 8 a.m. dance, 5 days a week. Like
Wow.
no questions asked. It was for 4 years. And I I'm a pretty disciplined person by nature, but like that really, it really tests you. Um, and again, so grateful to have had that experience. But when you're like living in it and you're waking up at, 7 o'clock in the morning to go do modern. And then, I mean, it was the whole day. Like I was 8 a.m., I had dance. Of course, you have like some little breaks in between, but especially like freshman year, I remember like I would start by 8 a.m. and then I would be done by like 4:30 and then I would have from 4:30 until like 6:30 to like eat, do things, and then I would have rehearsal for the show that I was doing, and that would be done at 10:30. So like it's like an 8 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. day. And I was also trying to work. So like I worked at a spin studio and a hot yoga studio. So I would get up and I would teach like a 5 a.m. class. So I'd get up at like 4:30 a.m. I would walk in the dark to the spin studio, teach class, then go take dance class. Like it's so wild and like luckily I did it well and I was young, like really young and whatever, but I also like I worked a restaurant job at a time. I made like cold calls for my university asking for money. Like I pride myself in kind of being jack of all trades in that way. Like I've always been pretty scrappy and I think college really pushed me to kind of just find a way with there's a will, there's a way to make it work. um But yeah, I would say that's kind of my biggest takeaway from school.
That's incredible. Look at you go, powerhouse, with all those hats. That's incredible. You wore literally all the hats throughout your time in uni. That's insane.
Well, and it transfers to New York too, because it's like when you come here, again, like everybody has a different situation, but like I didn't come here with, I had to pay my own rent, I have to pay my own bills. Like my parents don't support me financially in that way. And if your parents do, that's great. But and it's the same thing here. Like I've worked 1,000 different survival jobs, like a million. And like working from home, cold calling. I was a recruiter for a time. I catered, I hosted, I nannied. Like you kind of do everything and scrape by as best you can until something like, Hadestown or Heather's comes along and it got me to that point. Whereas like now, after I came back from tour, which I was on for 2 years, now I can kind of work the jobs that I want to. I have some really great teaching jobs that having the credit and the experience of doing that tour were able to help me get in the room for. So now my survival jobs are more aligned with the arts and what I want to do in that way, which is a really good feeling. But yeah, there was a time there that I would, of course, like everybody, for the most part, like I was pounding the pavement, and I think my college experience set me up really well for that.
Yeah. And it's so amazing that you can now do those jobs where you can educate young minds and young performers and really influence them to go out and make their mark too. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we of course have to talk about the Jimmy Awards because they're such a defining moment for so many young performers. So what did that experience mean to you, and how did it kind of shape your path towards studying theater in college? And then in what ways do you think the Jimmys helped you to kind of shape the performer that you are today?
I think the Jimmys are an absolutely incredible program. I think whoever started the Jimmy Awards and like put it on its feet is like deserves all the flowers. Because it's all paid for. And like of course you have to be able to be in the show to be seen, but like anyone can do it if you're in it. You have to have a part of a certain size in a show at a high school. Um, but I feel like it's a very accessible program because the people who do get brought to New York, hi, um, it's free. Like I had an all expense paid trip to New York. It was the first time I ever went. But yeah, I watched, there's like a 2012 documentary that they made called like Broadway Bound or something, that I watched when I was in junior high. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do that. And I remember forgetting about it. And then my mom was the one who was like, you need to submit this paperwork. You need to do this. Like you have a role that qualifies you. Like, and she was the one who like kind of pushed it through the door at the last minute. Um, but it provides such a community. And I remember finding that when I did like musical theater, like summer intensives when I was in high school. I did one at PCM and I did one at Oklahoma City University. And it's a very similar feeling of like, of community, of like, oh, there are so many other people who are like me and have the same interests as me. Um, because I was kind of like the one person at my school, in my high school, who like was really into this stuff. Um, and the Jimmy Awards was really cool because I was a senior when I went, so I already knew where I was going to college. There was actually another kid in my year who was a finalist. His name's Cameron Chang. And he was also in my class at Otterbein. So we got to meet before we started school. But like there are people from the Jimmys who I still see today and like talk to today and hang out with in the city today. Um, the guy that I went with, Jack Cahill Lemmy, is like down the street at Moulin Rouge, standing by for Christian. So it's been cool to like watch the journeys of all those people. And obviously, you have the people like Casey Likes and like Eva who skyrocket from those shows or from whatever, from being a finalist and whatnot. Um, but I think it was a completely magical experience. And I also think like, of course, it provided an opportunity for me as someone who's going into the business, but I also think for people who aren't going into the business, I think it's such a great like finale to their like high school acting career. There were so many people like that who were like, "Oh, I'm going into engineering," or like, "I'm going to nursing school." But like, what an incredible end to like this chapter of your life. And of course, you'll, if they want to, they'll continue doing it in their, own personal adult lives. But I think anybody who has the opportunity to go, it's a really incredible experience. And I'm very grateful that I got to do it.
Yeah, and it's so awesome to see like how everyone's paths kind of cross during the Jimmies and like getting to meet people with the same passion as you and getting to live out this incredible dream on a Broadway stage is just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, it was awesome. I have a very core memory of like the opening number and like seeing my parents in the audience. Like, and I was like,
Oh.
this is awesome. This is so awesome. And like my parents hadn't been to New York in years and years and years. Um, yeah, it was very special.
And with your mom being your music teacher too, like that experience just makes it even more incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. There was like no, when I was in junior high, there was no like theater program. Um, and so she started it, like she started it back up at my school because she knew
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to do. And she's still doing it. Like that's, she still works at that school. She still does all their musicals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. So, you've brought so many beloved stories to life in regional theater productions like Sound of Music, Frozen, A Chorus Line, Mamma Mia, Into the Woods, and so many more. So, which regional theater productions have been the most memorable for you? And can you share a few standout moments?
Well, I have to say Mamma Mia because it's where I met my husband. Um, we were Sophie and Spy together in like the shortest contract I've ever done. It was like a 4 week contract. It was super out of the blue. Um, yeah, it was during COVID. It was like early 2021. So like shows weren't really happening yet.
Mm.
So this regional production of Mamma Mia, I believe, allegedly, they had cast an equity cast, like principal cast for the show, and equity did not approve the show to be done. So they were kind of scrambling last minute, and the director reached out to my agent, who is also my husband's agent, but I obviously didn't know him at the time. They reached out to my agent, Matt Redmond, and they were like, "Hey, we need a non-union Sophie and Sky," and he sent us. And I remember getting a call like literally 3 days. It was 10 p.m. on like a Thursday, and I get a call from my agent, and I was like, "I'm being dropped. Like, I'm being dropped. Why is this man calling me at 10 p.m.?" And he was like, "Hey, super random. I have an offer for you. Like, do you want to go do Sophie at this regional theater in Atlanta?" And I was like, yeah, I guess, of course. But I remember like I had to quit all my jobs. Like it was such drama. But I was like, no, of course, like I haven't worked in like 2 years at that point because I was in school. But I was like, I haven't done theater in so long, whatever. But that is where I met my husband. And yes, so that show for sure. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I did a season at Music Theater Wichita, and I did The Sound of Music with Catherine Charlembois, who is absolutely fabulous. She was Nessa in Wicked. She's someone who I really look up to and who I've seen around the city. Um, but I loved doing that show as well, and she's definitely somebody that I look up to a lot in this business.
Oh, that's so awesome. Out of all the roles that you've stepped into regionally, are there any that stand out to you for specific reasons?
Think I did a course line and I got to do with Biowork, which was really awesome. And Maggie had been a dream role of mine for years. Like I really wanted to do it. Um, and I did chorus line a couple years before that, and I was a cut dancer, and I like couldn't have hated my life more.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I covered Maggie and Val, but you do the first 10 minutes of the show, and then you have to sing in the booth for the rest of the show. You don't get to bow. Like it's I'm like, I would rather be a swing than like just get to do one thing and then be sweaty and gross and whatever. Um, but that was definitely like a manifestation realized for sure. But I did come out of that show being like, I never need to do this show again. It's so hard.
Yeah.
Like I have so much respect for the people who do that show, the people who do that show over and over and over again. Um, the maintenance that you have to do on your body to be able to continue to do that show is crazy. Because in addition to the dancing, like it's also the standing. Like you're standing there in heels, watching people. Like it's a really hard show to do. And I found when I was doing Maggie, I was in a kind of a negative headspace because I was like, my entire show is going to be defined by three notes. And I didn't like that feeling. Like at the top of At the Ballet, like the whole line backs up and you stand up stage in the dark. And that was like my least favorite part of every show because I would just sit back there and I'd wait. And I would be like, okay, this is my one moment. And of course, Maggie has lots of other features. I love singing Mother. Like that was my favorite. That was my favorite part of the show. I just got to sit and sing that song. But it's like such an iconic, it's been made to be such this like iconic moment, especially after Every Little Step, the documentary, like it's like this is the Maggie. Like, does she have it? Does she not? And like every night it was great and it was fine. But I was like, I don't love that my entire show is based off of this and that I was like very hyper fixated on it. And of course it was fine. Like it wasn't the end of the world, but it was a very unique experience. I'm glad that I had it. I would do a chorus line again for sure, but I'm not like chomping at the bit to
Yeah.
be in an Epsom salt bath every night, you know?
You are so real for that one. So, fast forward to 2022, you brought the underworld across North America on the first national tour of Hadestown as an understudy for Eurydice and the Fates, while also serving as dance captain. So, can you share a little bit about your journey with Hadestown from your audition to your time on tour? Because you were out on tour for 2 years.
Yeah, it was long, and great. I originally started with the show as a vacation swing, um, which is exactly what it sounds like. Like there were people who were taking vacation. The tour had gone out, I think, like 9 months before. Um, and I believe all three fates had scheduled vacations because my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was already on the tour. Um, so I kind of had a little bit of the inside scoop, but he was very new. Um, but yeah, and I had been in for them previously. I had been in for them once before and kind of made it to the end. And they were like, you're on the short list now. Like next thing that comes up, you'll be in for it, whatever. But yeah, it was a vacation swing to swing the workers and the fates. There was no Eurydice. But I was in for that. I was also in for the worker one track that covers Eurydice. I was auditioning for both of those. Um, but I was signed on for the vacation swing, but I was only on for 3 months. Um, and I think vacation swings don't get lifted up enough because there are a lot of them and it's a really tricky job to have because you never know how long you're going to be working for. You don't get all of the benefits that full-time company members get. Um, the first few months I was out there, vacation swings did not get a percentage of overages. So essentially overages are like once you whatever. Any money they make over a certain point gets given. It gets paid out to the company. And on tours like Hadestown, like these short engagement tour agreements where you're only in a place for 1 week, we would sell them out and we'd make a really good chunk of change, especially in bigger cities with bigger venues. But vacation swings were not, they changed that pretty quickly once I was the first vacation swing, or I was the second. But after I'd been there for a few months, we really pushed them to let me participate in overages, and they did. But for those first few months, I did not. And it's the same thing on Broadway with like there's just like certain things that vacation swings aren't able to participate in and benefits that the normal full-time company does. But anyway, I started for 3 months. I got extended for another 3 months. And I believe after 6 months, a swing position was opening. It was the original track that I was in for, like back in the beginning. So that track opened. I then became a full-time swing. And then a couple of months later, our dance captain decided to step down. So he was still staying with the company, but he did not want to be dance captain anymore. Um, so then I was asked by management if I would take the job as dance captain. I said yes. And then I was dance captain for like the next year and some change. And then within that, after a few months of all of that, I then became a Eurydice cover. So I was constantly adding things on. It was definitely not like a straight shot journey. Um, and ultimately, it was just too much. Like the burnout that I experienced after that tour
I
was
cannot imagine.
really rough, honestly. I think I would have been more equipped to handle all of that responsibility if the touring part was taken away or if the dance captain, you know what I mean? Like it was just too much.
Yeah.
And touring is really hard. And I don't think that gets really spoken about enough, especially in school. Like even on a union tour, we were still only in most cities for 1 week. We were
Yeah,
there for 6 days. Our day off, we would travel.
probably. Yeah.
And even just like the interpersonal relationships get really tricky, especially as the dance captain, because your peers are your coworkers,
Yeah.
are the people you have to tell what to do. So that gets kind of tricky. And I was really, I think, in the best situation because I was there with my partner. So
Mhm.
like I at least had him, but he was also part of the show in a different capacity. So it was definitely challenging. I accepted a stage manager at one point, which was insane.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, it was nuts. But also, I have like some of the most incredible core memories from that show. You know, it was my first big show.
Mhm.
It's an incredible piece of theater. Like, it never gets old.
Yes.
Um, I got to do it with my now husband. He proposed to me on stage at his last show. I have made chosen family and friends for life from that production, from that company. Our friend Will, who was Hermes, married us.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, again, it's like the high highs and low lows of it all. There's not a ton of in between, and I'm trying to find that now of like just a stasis. Um, I learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I'm glad I'm glad that it happened, and I feel like I'm in a decent position. I'm part of Swing Nation, which is like a swing mentorship program. I just got a new mentee, which is really exciting.
Oh,
But
yay.
essentially, it's just a program that pairs like first time swings with people who've swung, and we chat like once or twice a month, even if it's just like a venting session, just like to somebody who understands but who's not part of the show that they're in. So stuff like that, and like even just friends, even in friends of friends who are swinging for the first time, I'll get messages from people. Um, her name is Sammy, but she just debuted as younger Allie on the Notebook tour. But
Let's
she's a
go.
friend of a friend, and she reached out to me and she was like, "Hey, like, can I know you don't know me, but can I buy you dinner? And can I just pick your brain?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And she's absolutely incredible. She's such a badass. But like getting to do things like that and getting to speak to people who are newer to that side of the business of like swinging and understudying and stuff is very valuable.
Yeah, that's so special. And I love the Notebook family. I got to do some work with the Broadway company of that show.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
hearing about the tour family starting out has just been so special. And I love Swing Nation, the program, and just Swing Nation as people. It's so awesome getting to learn from people who have experienced these things because you don't really learn how to swing in school. And it's such an
No.
important role that us theater people need to know and kind of need to have down pat, even though no one's ever had it down packed before. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's imperative. It's so
yeah.
imperative to the industry, but there, I still think we have a long way to go in terms of how we how we value our swings and how we actionably value covers.
Yeah.
I think we've gotten better, and now like the words of affirmation are there of like we say it, we speak it, we post about it. I still feel like across the board, the actions are still not, we haven't caught up yet.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that that will continue to progress in a positive way.
Yeah. So we of course have to talk about one of the most epic things that happened during your time with Hadestown. You were proposed to during the
Hmm.
show. So can you walk us through that incredible moment and how it all happened?
Yeah. I kind of had a feeling it was happening. Um, we did we did decide to like go and look at rings before,
Mhm.
um, just as my personal preference.
Yeah.
I don't love surprises in that manner. Um, but yeah, everyone was being super weird, and I knew it was my husband's last show, obviously. It was not my last show. Um, yeah, he was being super weird. His phone was on Do Not Disturb for like a week, which like he never puts his phone on Do Not Disturb. all the monitors were turned off backstage, so like you couldn't see what was going on stage. I was in the show that night, so I had to go do fight call. And they were like, there's a company photo on stage after fight call, which is not out of the ordinary. But what was out of the ordinary was that everybody had showed up on time for the company photo. Because usually when we would take a picture, it would be like for 500 shows or whatever. Like people would be rolling up really late. They'd forget about it. But
Yeah.
everybody was stat. And I was like, oh, for sure, for sure. Um, but yeah, we did fight call. My friend Ian, who's our fight captain, was like, Cecilia, can I talk to you really quickly about this? Whatever. And he turned me around and my husband was on one knee. And it was really stunning. And they were very lucky because I ended up being out of town like the 3 or 4 days prior to that. I was doing a callback in New York. So they had like fully, like, we had our band playing Lord of the Rings music in the back because I love Lord of the Rings. They had a whole lighting design of like pink because I love pink. And we had like our sound designer was taking pictures, but like they set it up and staged it. So they're like, cool, Ian, you're gonna bring Cecilia to stage left 8. Antonio's gonna propose on 2. Then you're gonna move her. Like it was this whole like choreographed, like stunning, beautiful thing. I mean, it was amazing. And then we got to do the show, like we got to do the show together for the last time. Um, and what I really loved is that while it was on stage, it was so private. Like it was only with our company. It wasn't, and if he had done it in front of everybody, that's fine. But I appreciated the like slight intimacy of it. And then it was just kind of like our people who were there to watch. But
Oh,
it was wonderful and magical and everything. Yeah.
I love that. So you are currently having some big fun at New World Stages in the Off-Broadway production of Heathers. And I know that Heathers has been a huge part of your childhood. So what was your audition experience like for this production? And can you walk us through your journey with Heathers from audition to now?
Yeah. So I actually booked this job from a tape. Um, which the last regional job I also booked from a tape. So in 2025, I've only booked jobs from tapes. But yeah, I remember I was up at Bucks County with Elizabeth. We were doing the world premiere of a new country musical called Hard Road to Heaven. And we both got the self tapes. I actually went back home because Bucks County is up in Pennsylvania. So it's not too far from New York. So if, like when we have a day off, I was able to take the train back to the city. Um, so I did. I was like, it was just a tape, but I was like, I want to have my setup. I want to be in my place. Like, I want to do this really, really well. Um, so I did. I went home. I filmed for Heather McNamara and for Veronica originally, and I heard nothing for like a month and a half. I didn't hear anything. And I ran into Elizabeth at Pearl Studios, which is like where a lot of auditions happen. And I was like, oh my gosh, hey. I was like, what are you here for? She's like, oh, I'm here for Heather's. And I was like, oh, that's great. In the back of my head, I was like, ah, oh, shoot, like I didn't get called back, whatever. Like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I got an email from my agent being like, hey, they're interested in you for ensemble cover. Can you send in more tapes? Can you send in a dance tape and more scenes? And I did. And I had a feeling because of how late in the process it was that they were probably going to cast from the tape. So again, I was like really like this is it. I don't think I'm going to go in person. And I was correct because like 4 days later I got the offer. Um, so definitely very unique. I think I think there's one other person in the cast who was also offer from the tape and didn't have to go in person. Um, but I mean, as you know, they did this like big open call and like there were a lot of different rounds and whatever. So it was definitely a unique experience. Um, but I mean, I'm grateful for it. It was $3.99 for me. Um, and obviously I'm proud of the tapes and yeah, 20 only just 2025 things, I guess.
Oh, that's awesome. So what was your rehearsal process like for the show, having to learn like both your ensemble track and then all the tracks that you understudy?
Yeah, so the original rehearsal process for folks who are on stage in the ensemble, you're really just learning your ensemble stuff. Like I was present while the other things were being taught, but it just really wasn't the priority. Like You know what I mean? Because they're not, you can't be on your feet. Like if you're in a number with people who are you were covering, and like you have to learn your own stuff first. Um, and that was kind of the vibe. I was very much focused on Heather McNamara. She's kind of my priority cover. Um, so, I'm tracking her, but especially when you're putting up a show for the first time and like you're in previews and things are changing, it's as much tunnel vision as you can with also like still really knowing what's going on with your covers. But especially because we have a standby, Sarah stands by for Chandler and Veronica. I kind of knew that I didn't super have to worry about those because she was there and she's incredibly talented in all of the above. Um, but yeah, it was kind of fast and furious. We had a bit of a slow start and then kind of ramped up into previews and all of that stuff. Um, but I mean, the fans are insane. The previews and the fans were absolutely crazy. Um, but yeah, it's a special group of people. I think especially like the boots on the ground, like the people that are in this building right now are a really strong set of individuals, and we're in very close proximity back here. We only have three dressing rooms. It's very, very tight. So I'm definitely grateful for the individuals in this company and how well we get along.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So you just had an incredible week debuting as both Heather McNamara and Heather Chandler. So you were scheduled to debut as Mac on the 15th, but you ended up going on a day earlier. And then exactly 1 week before, you debuted as Heather Chandler without a put-in rehearsal, which is just craziness. So can you walk us through that whirlwind week and what your process is like as a swing preparing for these moments?
Yeah. Knowing that I was doing Mac on that date is really great. And it's also very rare of like having a scheduled, it happens, of course, but having a scheduled date is awesome because I also got to tell people about it. My family was able to be here, all that stuff. So Mac was pretty cut and dry. I had done a put in back in July, which is still a while ago, but I've done it. Like I've worn the costume, I've done it with the bodies in space for the most part. I'm good. Chandler was definitely a different story. I did not have a ton of rehearsal. I did not have a put in. The first time I wore that costume in full was when I did it. That was really my first run of the show ever in that role. So yeah, I mean, like I talked about it on my TikTok, but like I I was nervous, of course, but I was at peace with like, I have done, this is what I've been given. I can't decide how much rehearsal I have. That's not my job. My job is to know this role. So I'm going to do everything in my power to be as prepared as I possibly can with the tools that I have at my disposal. Um, those include taking stage time when it's offered. So, like in between shows, like I could go out on stage right now and run stuff if I wanted to. Um, asking our fight captain for things, asking our dance captain for things, advocating for myself in terms of pre-show stuff. If we're in rehearsal and they ask, is there anything you want to work on? Yes, here's a list of things that I have in my phone that I know I need to do, like even technical things like Heather Chandler opens the gate at the top of the balcony so that Martha can sing Kindergarten Boyfriend and hang her legs off. But it's like, I know that I need to put eyes on how that gate operates before I go up and do it. So I'm not fumbling, it's like stuff like that. I'm like, I need to see things. If I can't do it in time and space, I need to at least see it and touch it. Um, yeah. So I really did as much as I could on my own. And luckily, because Chandler is Chandler, she's Queen Bee. As long as you bring confidence to that role and hit your marks for the most part, you're going to be fine. Um, Whereas with Mac and Duke, there's such parts of the ensemble that I found myself a little bit more nervous to go on for Mac because I had to do all those big group numbers as well. Um, and that can be tougher because you can get in people's way. It can be more of a safety concern if you really don't know what's going on, which is never the case for myself, but it's always in the back of my head. But yeah, and just like, I was here early, I was ready, I was trying on my stuff. Yeah, even just like, and all of that stuff also preemptively is like creating those positive relationships with everybody in the building. So like having a good relationship with stage management, having a good relationship with your dance captain and your fight captain, having a good relationship with the dressers, with the crew members, so that when you do ask for help, they're able and willing to give it because you've already established a relationship as coworkers. You know what I mean? And that should go without saying, but I feel like a lot of the times actors are kind of in this like actor bubble of like me and my cast, which is great, but like this whole building makes the show work. So even just like learning everybody's name, learning all the dressers' names, everyone in the pit in the orchestra, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That goes a long way. Not as in like a if I help you, you help me, but like those relationships should be created. And then when you get into situations that are high pressure, you have that team around you, you've established that community, and everybody gets through it together.
Yeah, it's such a team sport, and I think that's also such a beautiful part about theater is that it's not just the actors on stage, but it's everyone that makes the show happen.
Absolutely.
So, do you have a favorite scene, song, and moment in the show that you look forward to performing each night?
I love doing beautiful in the ensemble. I think it's like a great combination of like fun vocals, fun dance, and also like the ensemble gets to kind of improv a little bit with each other. Like they really have this creative team has really given us the space to be unique and like it's I mean it's I really appreciate that they do this when the swings go on. Like the swings go on for the ensemble tracks, but they are their own character. Um there's no other new wave girl, you know? So it, yeah, I enjoy that. And like I think the opening number is a great space to like we establish who we are and who are what our relationships are like with the other members of the ensemble and with the Heathers and all that stuff. So yeah, the opening is a great like hodgepodge of everything put together. Um, but I definitely love doing Candy Store when I have the opportunity to do it. It is iconic, obviously, and very, very fun.
Yes. So, last but not least, looking back on everything you have achieved in this industry, what advice would you give your younger self entering the industry?
Good. Find a hobby earlier. I think so many people in this business, actors especially, they're so the tunnel vision is so crazy that like they forget to be a person. And then when things don't work out in this industry, they don't know who they are. And that didn't happen to me so starkly, but like it's really difficult when you face challenges, work related challenges, if you don't have anything outside of it to define yourself. It's tough. It also just like makes you a more normal and better person and more interesting person and more fun person to be around. And I think your life will be better as well. And, you know, I love my hobbies now, but I think, and it's so hard, you know, like when you're in school, because it's everything. Like it's everything that you do. Um, but yeah, find a hobby. I tell it to everybody, like find a hobby. It will help you in so many ways if you don't already have one. And if you do, that's amazing and continue to lean into it.
Oh, that is amazing. Cecilia, thank you so much for joining me on the Inspiration Show. I'm in constant awe of your incredible talent, and I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to look up to you and watch you shine. Thank you for inspiring me.
Of course. Thank you so much, Allison. I appreciate your questions.